Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friend Diagram. This is the podcast where two friends catch up and find common ground between their favorite media. I'm Remy.
I'm Kat, and today we'll be comparing notes on the 2018 film Thunder Road and the animated series Over the Garden Wall. Warning, spoilers ahead. Hi, Remy.
Kat.
Hi, Remy. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I am okay. It's
been months. It's been months, Kat.
So long. Oh my goodness. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've been working on my dissertation and getting through my doctorate program and stuff. And honestly, that's like my one major life update. Honestly, I haven't been able to do much during the time I've been away. But I'm so happy to be back and really looking forward to living life again.
I know. Congrats. Welcome back to real life. Welcome
Thank
back
you.
to being a human.
Oh my gosh.
Great job defending your thesis.
Oh, it's finally over.
Finally over. I was able to attend over Zoom, which was very nice.
That was so nice. I'm so glad that you were there.
I'm so glad you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Me too. Yep. And now I'm just in that like kind of chill pre-holiday times and traveling around. So
yeah, we really jumped through time. Last time we recorded was early October. Now it's December. That's insane.
I know.
I'm coming to you from a nearly empty apartment. I'm moving in like 3 days. I'm gonna live in New Orleans now. So that's my major life update.
Yeah, warm for the winter. That'll be nice.
Warm for the winter. Less dry. It's quite dry here right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Lots of differences, but yeah. I can't wait to see what that's like. It's gonna be pretty crazy, but I'm sure I'll settle in, and there'll be at least one more episode in the pipeline from the New York apartment before you hear some New Orleans ones. But you know, we'll see.
From
we'll see
the
what
bayou.
I know. I wish it would just have swamp sounds in the background the whole time.
I'll edit them in, and it'll be like
put the crickets in, put the frogs in. Yeah.
That was like the worst frog noise in the world.
I knew what you were doing. It was pretty good.
It was pretty bad.
I liked it. Put that one in. Use that one exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Slow it down. Add some reverb.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
I was just some like trudging through the swamp noises.
Oh,
like
some squelching?
Yeah. Do they have like any cryptids down in New Orleans?
Oh, you'd think they must, right? A
You
bayou
would think.
/ wetland /
I'm gonna look
swamp
it up.
ecosystem seems prime for a cryptid. One is not coming to mind, though.
New Orleans crypts? New Orleans cryptids. Top 5 monsters of New Orleans. This is coming from CajunEncounters.com.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I
hope one of them's big shrimp.
Number 5 on here is the rougarou or loup garou, which sounds familiar to me.
That sounds kind of fun.
It's a wolf man, I think. Based on the image attached.
Yeah, loup would make sense.
Yeah. It says the original term loup garou means something like "look out, wolf" in French.
It sounds like a children's cereal. Loup garou, now with more frosting.
Yeah, a rougarou is a person, man or woman, cursed to shapeshift under the light of the full moon.
Yep. Cool.
They also have number 4 is the Axe Man.
That sounds like a man.
Yeah. Apparently there was a serial killer.
I remember hearing about that. That's not a cryptid. That's
I know.
human being.
Oh, well, I guess it's called Top 5 Monsters. So I guess they're including real people in this list. So I'm going to take out the real people.
Okay.
Okay. Well, all the rest are real people.
Oh!
So, number 3 is a person called Zach Bowen. Number 2 is a person called Madame Marie Delphine Lothery.
Big name.
And then 1 is the unknown arsonist. So, the only cryptid on this list was
Loup garou.
The loup garou.
Cool. Well, that's one.
Yep. That's the only cryptid I could find.
I'll ask once I'm down there.
Yeah. Give me some
I'll ask
stories.
a local expert.
Yes, please.
My family members.
I love that that's my first question about New Orleans is, are there cryptids?
It was a good question. Yeah, I just can't really think of anything. But it seems like they should have them.
Yeah, because, like, Florida has the skunk ape.
Mm-hmm.
The skunk ape is Florida, but that's like a swampy kind of concept. And so I was wondering if they had something like that. Because he's supposed to be, like, real stinky. Because he lives in swamps.
Okay.
He's like a Bigfoot type creature.
Yeah, I think I vaguely know what you mean.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe you will see the loup garou.
Maybe.
Maybe you will adopt your own loup garou.
Maybe I'll spot a lake monster in Lake Pontchartrain.
Ooh.
Maybe I'll just start a rumor that there's a lake monster in Lake Pontchartrain. Just have an idle hobby of stoking rumors about a monster in Lake Pontchartrain.
Get like a lake monster costume and start like swimming around in the lake.
Absolutely.
Start a whole hoax. It'll be great.
I'll make a remote controlled glimpse of a monster. I better get designing. Yeah. This is going to be great. And then I'll just sell t-shirts.
I'd buy it.
About I saw the Lake Pontchartrain lake monster. It'll be great. I'll think of a catchy name.
Mm-hmm.
Punch.
Punch. I love that.
Oh, it's so stupid.
This is how cryptids are born, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Just idle conversation between friends.
I was trying to think of a good way to segue into our episode.
Well, we could talk about how much we've been to the movies since we last checked in. I've been a few times, and while it's been fun, I haven't really been blown away by anything that's come out. I find that over the past, 6 months or so, I've just been having a lot of 3-star, 3.5-star experiences at the movies, which is totally fine. We need 3-star movies. We definitely need 3.5-star movies. Those are great. We need them to round out the movie experience.
Yeah.
But not a lot of movies have really blown me away very much in the second half of the year. I would say The Beast and The Substance are the only two that really found that really stood out to me. And so I've been also, always watching movies at home still. And I've just found a couple excellent gems, excellent examples of American independent cinema that have actually really blown me away. And that is, I'm going to talk about one of them today as my favorite thing. So one of those films that I watched recently that I absolutely loved was Thunder Road, a film from 2018 that's written, directed, and performed by Jim Cummings. I've mentioned Jim Cummings on the pod before. He was on my May Remy's radar because he starred in Last Stop in Yuma County, which was on May Remy's radar. But I was already familiar with him not only as an actor, but predominantly as an actor-director, because he has starred in and directed at least 3 feature films, Thunder Road being the first one. And this film, while it stars Jim Cummings, it also stars Nakan Robinson and Kendall Farr as well. And Thunder Road follows the emotional tribulations of a man amidst personal crisis. It centers on Officer Jim Arnaud, played by Cummings, who is fresh off of a recent divorce and grieving the death of his mother, while also fighting for legal custody and the positive regard of his daughter. Jim spirals as the strain of these events impact his ability to serve not only as a police officer, as his career, but also as a father to his daughter. And I picked this movie because it really stood out to me as an exceptional example of true vision. I mean, clearly when you have the same person being the writer, director, and star of the film, it's an excellent opportunity to execute a cohesive vision. And this film is a great example of that because Jim Cummings, starring in the film, does such an incredible job bringing the story of his character to life on screen with just tremendous emotional clarity and often really uncomfortable but honest vulnerability. And I think something that may have facilitated that really gut-wrenching vulnerability in his performance is the fact that he was writing dialogue for himself. And so when you're performing something that you've put on the page yourself, I imagine there's got to be extra depth and extra connection to those words that maybe bring forth an even more profound performance. And I think that really comes through in a lot of the very emotional scenes where Jim's character is having an outburst or a breakdown or expressing some of this grief that he is feeling that's just pouring out of him as a character. And I think the writing overall, not just for the Jim character, but I think the writing overall in the film is very strong, especially in the scene where Jim has kind of a breakdown in front of all of his colleagues. It's featured in the trailer, if you're able to see that before you watch the film. Or at least a segment of that outburst is captured in the trailer. And it's just an absolute wrenching scene to watch, but I find it really fascinating because the way Jim Cummings portrays this breakdown throughout the film, and even in the microcosm of that one outburst scene, it's not in such a depressing or difficult to watch way that makes the film hard to take, but he still manages to really convey those emotions in a way that makes you absolutely feel for the character of Jim and makes you understand what he's feeling and what he's trying to express. And it also just actually lets you see his humanity in a way that makes the entire thing tolerable and emotionally provocative and doesn't make you want to turn away and kind of shut down and ignore what the character is going through. He somehow makes it appealing to lock in to that character's experience. And I think that's a very difficult needle to thread because when you're putting a character on screen that's going through so much pain, it can often be off-putting to the viewer, especially the more honest you make it. But somehow through Jim Cummings' writing and performance and directing, he keeps it relatable and lighthearted enough at times, and also, you know, poking fun at the character of Jim at times, enough to like make it not an emotional slog and make it something that you want to keep engaging with.
Yeah, as an audience member, I find that very difficult personally. Like when I'm watching a film that gets like really heavy and has like heavy topics in it, I find levity helps me a lot to be able to kind of like bear the film. And it can be kind of, it doesn't have to be like a joke here, a joke there, right? It doesn't have to be like the traditional form of like comedic relief. It can be, you know, kind of what you're describing, where it's just a more palatable way to allow the audience to process what the character's going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Because on the page, it seems like this would be just too depressing to watch. But Jim Cummings achieves just such an incredible wry tone at points, making fun of, things like conventions of male masculinity or conventions of working on the police force or other subject matter that's ripe for commentary. But he has a really deft touch when poking fun at those things, because he always does so in a way that never keeps you from rooting for the main character, which I also think is really important, because it's tough to watch someone going through all these things, and if you're not rooting for them going through them, that also makes a film like really hard to stick with. But I found that throughout Thunder Road, I was constantly empathizing with the main character and rooting for him, especially because throughout the film, he often showed in various ways that he was wanting to or striving to be vulnerable and striving to do better and wanting to be understood and wanting to do the right thing for his daughter or for the people around him that he cared about. And so he was extremely easy to root for, even when he was in very difficult situations. And I think that is extremely important. I think another reason why this film really clicked with me was because there's something about watching the main character in this film just absolutely bottoming out that was impactful, but also comforting in a way. And I think I'd be curious to see what your reaction to the film would be, Kat, because I watched it during like definitely a low point. I'm in kind of a prolonged low point right now. And so that bottoming out feeling and the piling on of stressors was extremely resonant. And I wonder if that is like specific to someone that feels like they're in a very low point of their life. Something interesting I observed is unique to the way I rented the movie. Actually, I rented it on YouTube. And when you rent it on YouTube, you can see the comments of other people that rented it. And I read at least a few of them, and many of them were people echoing that sentiment, being like, I recently separated from my spouse, and this part of the movie really hit me hard, or I've been striving to or struggling to connect with my children, and this really impacted me. And, people talking about the loss of a loved one and how that depiction in the film really struck them. And so I think anyone going through any of those types of experiences, it seems like it's very easy to connect the portrayal of those things in Thunder Road to one's own experiences, because they're rendered in such just a really stark and honest way. And the film is just so hyper-focused on Jim's experience that it's not washed out by like a really wide scope that would dilute things. It's hyper-focused on Jim the whole time. And so you're so attuned to his experience and his emotions that I think for anyone struggling with those types of subjects, there's a connection that you can really easily form with the character you're seeing on screen. Beyond the central character, I really, really enjoyed the supporting character Nate, who's played by Robinson. He plays Jim's best friend and colleague in the film. And I thought he was an outstanding character because he is a really, really outstanding friend to Jim, even when Jim is clearly struggling and clearly behaving somewhat erratically. Nate goes out of his way time and again to try to support Jim. And I also think that character was outstanding because of the performance that Nakan Robinson gives as Nate. His performance was wonderful, and I particularly liked the way he was able to wordlessly express the pain of watching your friend decline or watching your friend suffer and go through something, and you could just see so plainly on his face him wanting to help and wanting to intervene and knowing that it wasn't possible. And I thought that performance was very well done.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I watched the trailer right before we recorded, or one of the trailers. It was kind of like set to, I don't know, it didn't have a ton of dialogue in it. It was kind of set to like music, and it was like multiple scenes just kind of like set to music of the breakdown. But I think I know the character that you're talking about, and there's just like this shot of his face watching his friend like kind of talking emphatically or maybe yelling. You can't hear what he's saying, so I don't know, but just kind of like showing like a high level of concern and care, and it just was like a very nuanced expression. And I mean, that like really stuck with me, like what you're saying. I like able to picture that person's face and the like multiple emotions that were kind of crossing it in like a couple of seconds, you know?
Yeah. I really love the portrayal of their friendship in the film. Not even just the lows. They have some highs together too, and those are also excellent and fun. So I thought Jim and Nate's friendship in the film was a wonderful aspect, and I really liked how that was written as well. And I liked the complicated nature of how he wrote a lot of the family dynamics as well. His daughter features heavily in the film. The character of the daughter features heavily in the film. And I think Jim Cummings does a great job trying to underscore the trickiness of trying to connect with children at that age, especially when you're in a household where you might not be seeing them all the time, and there's another parent who might be portraying you in a particular light when you're not around, and just how difficult it can be to kind of gain ground again after that sort of dynamic is playing out. But I loved the way that he is just really reasonable and dedicated to trying to maintain that connection with his daughter, even during such like a challenging age for people with daughters, I think. And speaking of that, there's one really great cameo by Macon Blair, who plays the daughter's school teacher in the film, and they have a one-on-one parent-teacher conference, and that's an excellent scene, and Macon Blair is excellent in it as always, and I loved that scene, and it was great to see a normal adult reacting to Jim's character. Just excellent stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to talk about without giving much away. I think something that's easy to talk about without giving much away is talking a bit more about the opening of the film, which is a Jim giving a eulogy for his mother. That's like the cold open, essentially, where he has thought of how he wants to eulogize his mom, but things keep going wrong. And so in the midst of technical difficulties, you just get his raw expression and unfiltered thoughts about his mom. And while from far away, they might seem erratic and disconnected and perhaps somewhat frightening, maybe, or unhinged, I should say. I thought a lot of what he was expressing in his unconventional eulogy was really touching, and you could tell it was coming from a place of love and grief and just wishing for more time. And I think all great eulogies communicate that in some way. And even though this was a disastrous eulogy, I think even the remnants of those emotions that were present still made it interesting to watch and valuable. And I really liked that even when written to be a disastrous eulogy, there's still little pieces that are really, really interesting and touching. And I thought that's got to be really difficult to accomplish from a writing perspective.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, I would say that I would just absolutely recommend Thunder Road to anyone. I think it's an excellent example of what you can do with independent cinema, where you can just so completely tell a story like this with a very specific and focused scope, but doing so in a way that absolutely just cuts to the bone and provides you with one person's point of view on all of these different struggles in such a complete way. And I think Jim Cummings is a really fantastic creative person. I mean, I've seen his other feature-length films as well and enjoyed them thoroughly. And he also has a lot of short films that are excellent and I've enjoyed as well. It's All Right, It's Okay, I think is my favorite short film of his, but he had a great one earlier this year called Is Now a Good Time. So I would also recommend them as well. But yeah, I would say definitely check out Thunder Road if any of that sounded interesting to you at all. It's such a unique film, and everyone that I know that has seen it was just blown away by it.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely sounds up my alley. In a way, it kind of reminds me, this is going to probably sound weird to somebody who's seen Thunder Road, but in a way, it kind of reminds me of some of Wes Anderson's works where you're very, very focused on one family or a small group of people, and it's talking about processing grief, and obviously he has his own distinct style, and but I think he also has his own distinct way of storytelling and showing the way that people are kind of dealing with hard things in a microcosm, you know. But I'd be really interested to see this. Yeah,
definitely highly recommend checking this out. And I am eager to see what Jim makes next. I know it seems like he's constantly working very hard to get projects made and get projects funded properly. So I'll be thrilled when he's able to make another feature-length film. I'll be there day one if they'll have me.
Well, I also have not made it to the theater very much in the past couple of months. I did go see Gladiator 2 over Thanksgiving, which was fun. I liked that. I largely have been consuming a lot of comfort media, things that make me feel good, make me feel happy. And like a year and a half ago, probably, one of my friends in grad school recommended Over the Garden Wall to me, and they were like, you've got to watch this. This is absolutely your vibe. It's like spooky, it's cozy, it's wholesome, it's funny, it's silly. And I was like, yes. But as I am wont to do, I did not get around to it until roughly a year and a half later. Mm-hmm. So, we come to this spooky season, and I'm in thesis hell, and I decide, you know what? It sounds like a perfect time for a spooky cozy watch. Mm-hmm. I'm going to download all of Over the Garden Wall and watch it. And it was one of the best things I did this spooky season. I'm obsessed with it and have watched it all the way through a couple of times now. Mm-hmm. And probably will a few more times before the year is done.
It's a series, it sounds like, right?
It is. It is a limited animated series. It aired on Cartoon Network in 2014, and that means it just celebrated its 10-year anniversary this year. And it was created by Patrick McHale and Katie Krentz. Patrick McHale is known for his writing of Adventure Time and also Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. Katie Krentz is known for her work producing Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Lower Decks. So, some pretty notable animated series. And Over the Garden Wall follows the story of two half-brothers, Greg and Wirt, who are lost in the woods after some frog hunting. The good news is they find a frog. The bad news is they are being pursued by the Beast, a mysterious entity that turns lost children into trees and burns their wood in a lantern. Along the way, to find their way home, they meet many strange but largely friendly folks. And you kind of just enjoy their adventures along the way. And one aspect of this that I absolutely love is that it is only 10 episodes long, and it has a total runtime of 110 minutes. So the entire show is less than a average movie these days.
That's fast.
Yeah, so they're usually little 10 to 12 minute episodes. So you can enjoy it in one cozy evening or multiple bite-sized sessions, depending on what your vibe is. But I think it has lots of strengths. I largely love this show for its humor. I think that it has a very kind of distinct, silly style of humor. It does a really good job of manipulating your expectations, specifically using horror tropes and kind of vibes and kind of setting you up into a kind of scary situation and then turning that scary situation on its head in a way that is not threatening and kind of lining up the perfect punchline in a slow burn kind of way. Mm-hmm. The two half-brothers have a really great dynamic, and I think that the writing of their dialogue and also the voice acting that's being done by Colin Dean, who voices Gregory, the younger brother, and Elijah Wood, who voices the older brother, makes these perfectly relatable and quotable moments. So Scott and I have these quotes that we say on a daily basis, and it has just fully become incorporated into our dialogue with each other now. So it's just something that just keeps on living in our daily conversations. The vibes are immaculate. I love the way it's animated. I don't know much about animation. I honestly couldn't speak in any kind of educated way on this, so please do not crucify me if I say something wrong, but I think it just has this very kind of vintage aesthetic in a lot of the episodes. It's got kind of this hand-drawn aesthetic to it. I'm not sure if it was hand-drawn or if it just looks hand-drawn. I should have Googled. I should have done more research, but I didn't. I think it adds to the uniqueness of the show. It's not just another SpongeBob. It's not a Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's its own unique aesthetic, I think. And I especially love there's like episode 2 has this pumpkin themed episode that is just really iconic. And there's this almost like pumpkin maypole that has been created. And it's very iconic and interesting and spooky. So I loved that. And I love that the show has this feel-good energy to it, but it also feels meaningful. Like there are parts of it that make me sad. There are parts of it that make me happy. It feels deeper than just an average animated series. It feels deeper than a Bob's Burgers. It feels linear, and I like that. There's like a warmth to it, and I think a lot of that warmth comes from the character Greg, who I don't know how old he's supposed to be in the show. I assume quite young. Maybe like, so Wirt is like supposed to be in high school, and I would say that Greg is supposed to be like maybe 7 or 8, like young mischief, but like he has this inherent desire to be good and to do good in the world. And I think for this reason, he also is a really good problem solver. I think that he's the reason that they end up finding their way out of the woods in the first place and end up kind of having resolution to the show, is because he doesn't ever have like a defeatist attitude. He has this like childlike confidence that is very humorous in a lot of situations, but also doesn't limit him in his creativity and in his ability to think through different situations that they're being put in. And I also will say that I like that the show has high stakes for a kid's show. I mean, it's for kids and adults, but I mean, a kid could absolutely watch this show without getting, too spooked or anything. It's not like overtly scary or anything. But it has high stakes. I mean, the essence is that they could get turned into a tree and then burned in a lantern. And
oh, right. I keep forgetting this. That is the threat.
Yeah. And
that.
I mean, they get quite close to that actually happening in the show. And I do feel like, I wasn't sure that they were going to make it out of the woods. And it was a lovely watch to add to my spooky season. And I can't wait to watch it next year out on the balcony. Because I think balcony, projector, spooky season time will be just amazing.
That does sound really nice. I was looking up the animator for this because I watched
thank you.
the trailer for it, and when you were talking about the animation style, you were talking about how it didn't seem similar to any animated shows that you've seen before. And when I looked at the trailer, I was like, oh, the style reminds me of Regular Show. And so I looked it up, and it looks like Ryan Wasson is animator for Over the Garden Wall and Regular Show. So I think maybe that's some of his style that is shared between them. He looks like a common member of the animation department, and or I don't know if he's head head animator. I also don't know a lot about how animation teams are structured.
Interesting. So, in my basic Google search, it said that it pays homage to old rotoscoping techniques, which is where animators trace over motion picture footage frame by frame to produce realistic action. So kind of obviously means to kind of look that hand-drawn animation style. But yeah, that's great. Regular show.
Have you ever seen Regular Show?
I haven't. I think I've heard of it.
It's fun. My friends in college would get high and watch it. So that's where I know Regular Show from.
I've seen that bird with the long arms before.
Yeah, Mordecai.
I like his long arms. Yeah, I should watch that.
It's a cool style.
Huh. Yeah. Also, it's kind of cool because Over the Garden Wall has some interesting voice acting in it.
I was looking at that too and saw a lot of great familiar faces.
Yeah. So obviously Elijah Wood is Wirt, who is amazing. I really, really love the way he voice acts that whole character, and Wirt is amazing the whole way through. Like the way he lands his lines. The comedic timing is excellent. But also Christopher Lloyd plays a character called the Woodsman.
What a great voice on him.
Oh my God. It's so good. The Woodsman is such a great character. And adds to kind of this suspicion, because he's chopping down trees, and we know that kids are getting turned into trees, so it's kind of what's going on here? John Cleese.
Yeah, John Cleese.
In a couple of episodes.
I see Tim Curry is here.
Auntie Whispers is my absolute favorite absolute favorite non-main character. So good. That is probably one of my favorite episodes. The frog is so fun. Just every bit with the frog is so funny to me. Because the kid just keeps renaming the frog different names. He can't decide on a name for the frog. He keeps naming it a president's name. He names it George Washington for a while, then Benjamin Franklin, and then people they know. It's very funny. I think he starts out by calling it Kitty. The frog was named Kitty at first. But the frog is voiced by Jack Jones, who does a lot of the, he sings the intro music for the show and some songs throughout the show. And Jack Jones is apparently a famous crooner from the 60s.
Whoa.
It's really good. I love the music in the show. I think it's really fun and catchy. I sing it a lot. So it gets jammed in my head, and then I just start singing it.
That's good writing.
It's good writing. Yeah. It's all good stuff. I don't have a ton more to say. I mean, it's just, guys, go watch it. It's so fun. And it's 2 hours of your time.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so short.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was watching it on the plane the other day.
That does sound very catcore.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have a ton of overlap.
Yeah, do you want to do our friend diagram now?
Yes, let's do
it. I mean, speaking of catcore, these are, I think, very emblematic choices for our own personal taste. These are direct hits. So catcore and Remy-core choices this week. I'm going to count that as overlap.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally love that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yours is a cottagecore, pseudo pseudo fantasy. I don't even know how to describe it. I haven't even seen it. Why am I describing it? Yeah.
Spooky light.
Spooky light.
So, oh my god, I would love it if you watched it. I think sampling it is a good choice.
Where would I find it? Did you say?
It is on Hulu. Okay,
There you go.
sweet,
Awesome.
good stuff. So everyone, Over the Garden Wall is on Hulu. Go watch it and come back and tell me what your favorite song is and what your favorite name for the frog is. Okay, other overlaps. I thought that maybe there could be some overlap between Jim's best friend Nate and the little brother Gregory, because there is a moment. So there's a moment in Over the Garden Wall where Wirt kind of fully gives up and has totally ceded control of the situation and has kind of said, I'm just lost in the woods. I don't know how to get out, and I'm no longer looking for a way out. And he's like, you're in charge now, Greg. Fully thinking like, Greg's not going to get us out of here, you know, obviously. And Greg is like, wow, that's a lot of pressure, but you've done such a good job, and I will do my best to get us out of here. And it's like a very sweet moment of him kind of not realizing that it's a sarcastic moment, or not even sarcastic, but just like a defeatist moment for Wirt. And I love that Greg is like absolutely willing to take on the burden of finding their way home and is not like daunted by the task and is like, I will dream up a plan to get us out of here. And it seems like Nate is probably not in the same way taking on that burden, but is the kind of friend who desperately wants to help his friend and take on part of his burden and help him through the challenges that he's going through in any way that he can. And I think that maybe that could be an overlap.
Yeah, I think that's similar to one I wrote down, which is just positive depictions of male friendship. I know, I think in Over the Garden Wall, they're technically half brothers, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But they can also still be friends. I'm counting it. Yeah, because I think it sounds like their dynamics are... Would you say that their dynamic is like a positive example of male friendship?
Yeah, I think so. It grows, if that makes sense. So,
yeah, of course.
Because it's definitely at the beginning, Wirt, the older brother, is saying like, you got us into this. You got us lost because we were hunting for your frogs, and now we're lost in the woods, etc., etc. But so there's kind of that like lashing out and blaming behavior, which like that erratic behavior could also be an overlap. Sorry, tangent. But but it does grow into being like a very wholesome and good relationship with the two brothers. And yeah, it's a sweet thing to watch.
Yeah. I also wrote down confident children. It sounds like Greg has a certain amount of confidence.
Yeah.
That is nice. I would say Kendall Farr's character in Thunder Road is a very confident child.
I love that.
She is not afraid to tell it like it is. She expresses herself very easily and seems really good at socializing at school.
Yeah.
So maybe she has some outbursts too, but I think that all comes from confidence. So yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't really have anything anything else on my list. Do you have anything else?
Not really, no. I think these are kind of... They seem disparate.
Yeah.
From an outside point of view.
Yeah.
But I think those are not bad overlaps.
No. So yeah, we're back, folks. We're back. Our year-end content will look a little bit different. So stay tuned for what that schedule will look like. I think we're going to be kind of discussing our favorites from 2024 in 2025.
Yeah, I think we're going to actually let the year end.
Yes.
before we talk about the year-end picks.
That way we don't have to alter our lists in the new year.
Mm-hmm. There's some real heavy hitters coming down.
Yeah, like right at the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're back and we'll try to be more regular. Obviously, it might not be as consistent as we were in years past, but we will be posting more regularly than we were before. So, Thank you for sticking around and for listening. And happy holidays, everybody.
Oh yeah, happy holidays.
Thanks for joining us this week on Friend Diagram. Thank you to Tyler Seek for the creation of our intro and outro music. Did you take any of our recommendations? Have any thoughts on the show? Let us know at frienddiagrampod@gmail.com and we might read your email on a future episode. If you can, please take a moment to rate and review the show on your podcast app of choice, and we'll see you back here, same place next week. Bye for now.